Hey, what's happening, guys? So Nottingham Forest have officially signed Chris Wood from Newcastle United following Taiwo Awoni's groin injury, which will rule him out of action for 2 months. This is precisely why it was imperative to get a body through the door, as having that focal point up top could be the difference between playing Premier League and Championship football next season. Now, as my mates and I discussed on Forest Fan TV a couple of days ago, the dick jokes are endless courtesy of this gentleman's surname, so I'll try my best to avoid swinging into that territory. It's an initial loan deal with an obligation to buy should certain clauses be met, which I can only assume are surrounding Forest staying up. The rumored fee is set to be 15 million quid, and if I'm being honest, I think Wood is perfect as a stopgap to fill in the holes, pardon the pun, but not someone you want to be paying a fee for come the summer. While I'm convinced he'll contribute in the short term, the man isn't getting any younger and his best days are seemingly behind him. If the price was in the region of 4 or 5 million pounds, then why not? But since it isn't, I'd much rather see Forest bringing in an up-and-coming talent on a permanent basis for the 2023-24 season. That being said, no one can have any complaints if he delivers in the 4 or so months which remain of this campaign and helps keep Forest in the division. From Woods' perspective, there's absolutely no shame in being behind Callum Wilson and Alexander Isak in the pecking order. The former is one of the most underrated forwards in the country who has been desperately unlucky with injuries, while the latter is one of the best young strikers in the game. Given how quickly Newcastle are progressing, it's only natural he finds himself not getting the minutes he wants or indeed deserves as a consummate professional, yet departs Tyneside with the fans' blessings. He very much played his part in keeping them in the league last year, both by contributing up front and simultaneously weakening relegation rivals Burnley by leaving, as they were left scrambling in the market and ended up with egg in their face, as his replacement Weghorst turned out to be a piss-poor fit and couldn't help them beat the drop. Now, unlike most other players I've done videos on, there's absolutely no versatility from a positional perspective when it comes to Chris Wood, and that's completely okay, as what you see on the tin is exactly what you'll get. I do have to question his solitary career appearance out on the left wing. Whichever fucker was responsible for that happening needs to be exposed and publicly ridiculed at the earliest. I swear that's almost as bad as when Stuart Pearce stuck David James up front while chasing a victory in 2005 at Manchester City. In all seriousness though, Wood has 59 goals in 189 Premier League matches. We've been spoilt as viewers with silly numbers thanks to the likes of Ronaldo and Messi, but make no mistake about it, that is a highly respectable return, particularly when you take into account that he's been representing sides who've almost exclusively had their backs against the wall in games. To average 10 league goals across 4 seasons at Burnley warrants recognition, and just goes to show you that as long as fullbacks float in half-decent crosses, this fella will be getting on the end of them. As already alluded to, Wood is a formidable presence to have leading the line and disrupts the opposition, allows teammates to pick up second balls and launch it forward at will, and helps bring others into play as the target man that he is. For reference, he topped the charts for both aerial duels won as well as headers on target in the entire league for 2022, and that's a list which included centre-halves as well. This is something Wood is acutely aware of and uses to his advantage. If you look at the heat map on screen, he likes to drift out wide to get on the end of launched passes because he knows that fullbacks don't have a prayer of beating him in the air, which makes him the type of bully which the English game is sorely missing these days. Furthermore, he's a grafter who presses from the front, which remains an underrated aspect of what he brings to the table and not something you typically associate with a big man up top. An added bonus is he'll be of aid while defending set pieces, and that's another thing which is overlooked for attacking players. Overall, while incredibly one-dimensional in his approach, Wood is quite possibly the best there is at what he does. He's a reliable option to have on the pitch and a solid personality off it, and you can't ask for much more given the circumstances. His injury record is second to none, so expect him to be available for most, if not all, of the games that remain. Needless to say, creativity, pace, and technical ability all go out the bloody window, and that can wait for next season when Forest aim for a top half finish. I want to end by saying that it takes a lot of mental strength to have the career that Wood has had. Aside from being New Zealand's main man and poster boy for a decade, he's been out on numerous loans up and down the English footballing pyramid, which is why even becoming a Premier League regular is something that should be applauded, given it was against all odds. At this stage, he's almost like the player version of a Sam Allardyce or Tony Pulis, in that any team threatened with relegation looks towards him for inspiration, and he delivers every single time. Apparently, he was also seen meowing at Kurt Zouma throughout the 90 minutes during a game versus West Ham. And for that shithousery alone, I say this signing should be celebrated. Cheers for tuning in, folks. As always, I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments down below, and hope you have a great weekend ahead. Peace.